on courtroom floors, 26 years behind closed doors, files marked confidential, truth suppressed, but I write it with justice on my chest. From crime scene to courtroom, I've seen it all. I see my piece and wait for the judge's gavel to fall. Every child matters, no case too small. I feel their pain and hear their frightened call. A voice for the voiceless, I won't let go. I speak the truth they need to know. This is crime, courtroom confidential. Silence breaks and hearts are hurt. We fight for the ones the system never saw. Every story, every word, no secrets buried, no pain ignored. Justice rising bold and raw. This is truth, unfiltered, and I'm not backing off. My hair hums beneath the sky, courtroom robe and a watchful eye. Tattoos tell stories, scars that stay. I've lived the law in every way. From crime scene to courtroom, I've seen it all. I say my piece and wait for the judge's gavel to fall. Every child matters, no case too small. I feel their pain and their frightened call. A voice for the voiceless, I won't let go. I speak the truth they need to know. This is crime, courtroom confidential, where silence breaks and hearts are hurt. We fight for the ones the system never saw. Every story, every word, no secrets buried, no pain ignored. Justice rising bold and raw. This is truth, unfiltered, and I'm not backing off. Hands by my side, honey in the field. I carry the weight that others conceal. Behind the bench, behind the fear, I've held the line year after year. Not just facts, but human lives. We investigate and dig where darkness resides. Every case, a sacred vow to find the truth, starting now. This is crime, courtroom confidential, where silence breaks and hearts are hurt. From crime scene to courtroom, we stand tall. Every child let us go and stay true. Never gain and leave you stand. Your leverage low and through facts. Every story unfiltered, and I'm not backing off. A voice for the voiceless, truth on the line. We seek justice and keep evil confined. This is true, unfiltered, and I'm not backing off. And I'm not backing off.
Hello everyone, welcome back to Courtroom Confidential, where justice isn't just a concept, it's personal. Today's episode is one I wish we didn't have to make. It's about danger that doesn't creep in from the woods or hide behind a mask. It's the danger that sits across from the child at the dinner table, that tucks them in at night, that says, "I love you," and then harms them. And this isn't a horror story, it's a statistical reality. And in Nova Scotia, where Lilly Sullivan and her 4-year-old brother Jack vanished from their rural home in Lansdowne Station on the 2nd of May of this year, that reality is pressing on every parent, every neighbour, every investigator. We've all heard it. Don't talk to strangers. And we all try and instill that into our children. But what if I told you that statistically the stranger isn't the one we need to fear the most? In Canada, and in Nova Scotia specifically, the vast majority of abuse cases, physical, emotional, and sexual, are perpetrated by somebody that the child knows. Often, it's a parent. According to the Canadian Child Welfare Research Portal, in 2022 alone, over 1,180 children in Nova Scotia were placed in out-of-home care. That's nearly 6 children for every 1,000. And these aren't cases of stranger abduction or harm by someone outside of the home. These are cases of neglect, harm by those that they love, most often within the family home and by one of their caregivers. The Nova Scotia Family Law site outlines that child abuse includes physical force, emotional harm, sexual exposure and neglect. And the Children and Family Services Act mandates intervention when risk comes from inside the household. Less than 1% of missing children cases are abductions by strangers. The majority are runaways, and the majority of those runaways are teenagers. The average age of an abducted child is around 13, and around 60% of all child murder abductions are at the hands of somebody the child knows and not a stranger. In around 75% of all murder abductions, the child is believed to be deceased within 3 to 6 hours of the abduction. So time is of the essence when these incidents occur. When looking at missing people specifically in Nova Scotia, the last year available in terms of statistics is 2023. And those statistics show us that there were 20,654 female children and 13,819 male children. So that's 34,473 children who went missing. Out of those 34,473 children, in Nova Scotia specifically, 0 were abducted by a stranger. 0 were abducted by a parent without a custody order present, and 0 were trafficked. 4 wandered off, that was 3 girls and 1 boy. 1 girl was the subject of parental abduction where there was a custody order in place. There were 470 runaways, that was 339 girls and 131 boys. And then there were 24 where the outcome was unknown and 19 that were classified as other. Those 19 other would include harm by their caregivers. 56% of missing children were found within 24 hours. 90% of those were found within 1 week. And 78% of runaways were between the ages of 14 and 17 years of age. In Nova Scotia in 2023, there were 14 homicides. 6 were considered to be a missing person at the time of their death. 6%, were considered to be a missing person at the time of their death. So a very small number of those were considered to be missing. When we looked at demographic and circumstance-related characteristics of children aged 0 to 17 who died of homicide or an undetermined manner in the census of 2007 to 2016, obviously the next one's not occurred yet, and that will be next year, we see this. Children aged 1 to 4 years, there were 261. Children aged 5 to 9 years, there were 80. That's across a 10-year period. So the average number of children, and I apologise, this is in the Maritimes that I've narrowed this bit down to. The average number of children in the Maritimes who died by homicide during that period was 9. That's 6.8 of all of the homicides in Canada of children, 0 to 17. Sorry, 96.8. Oh, that sounded a little bit low. 40 of those had signs of definite, probable, or possible maltreatment. And in another study of 1,758 national child deaths in Canada, there were 441 which were homicide, and of those 441, 262 of them, so that's 59%, were maltreatment related. So why do we cling to the myth of stranger danger? We do that because it's easier. It's easier to imagine a monster in the woods than to confront the possibility that someone that we trust, someone that we love, could be the source of harm to our children. But ignoring that truth has consequences. Day in, day out for these children. It means we miss the signs, and it means that as the parent who isn't the one doing the harm, we fail to protect our children. So let's talk specifically about Jack and Lilly Sullivan. They were last seen by somebody outside of their family on May the 1st, 2025 at 2:25 p.m. On CCTV at a Dollarama store with their mother and stepfather and their baby half-sister, Meadow. The next morning, they were gone. Their home in Lansdowne Station is remote. It's surrounded by woods and steep banks. There are no nearby neighbours. There are very few fully made up tarmac roads, and there are lots of ATV trails and dirt lanes. Their mother reported them missing at 10:01 a.m, saying she believed that they wandered off. But no trace has been found of Jack and Lilly, not even after extensive searches, including ground search and rescue, air, water, canine and drone searches, which were intensified efforts during the first 6 days, after which time they scaled back but came back on 3 separate weekends to do more targeted searches in the area. There have been polygraph tests of the family including the wider family, and forensic analysis of a pink blanket belonging to Lilly, although that hasn't been provided to us in terms of the results of those forensic tests. We do know that in terms of the polygraphs, Janie Mackenzie, Daniel Martel's mother, was unable to effectively undergo the polygraph test. She did undergo it, but then they concluded that her physiology wasn't appropriate for the test because she has a particular health condition. It does confuse me a little bit why they didn't identify that before conducting the test during the initial kind of testing session to establish the parameters of the test before they went forward. Malehya and Daniel were both truthful when answering 4 specific questions, although in the court documents that we've been provided, those questions are redacted. And we understand from Daniel in his CBC interview that the questions all related to the death and murder of Lilly and Jack, not to their disappearance specifically. So he said they asked him, did you murder Jack and Lilly? Did you have anything to do with the murder of Jack and Lilly? Or it may have been, did you kill Jack and Lilly? And then, did you have anything to do with the murder of Jack and Lilly? Now, he didn't say what the other questions were, other than that they pertain to the death of the children. That's concerning in a number of ways. If you frame the question broadly as, did you kill Jack and Lilly? And it was an accident that occurred, but you covered it up. Or you did harm one of them, but the other one was an accident. For example, you could answer truthfully no to that question. That doesn't mean to say you weren't involved. So, given their already really unreliable nature and the fact that we don't know what the questions are specifically, and we know that what Daniel says the questions are not very good questions, then I'm not prepared to put a huge amount of weight into those polygraph tests. They were also taken by Wade Paris, which is Malehya Brooks-Murray's stepfather, Cindy Murray, her mother, and Cody Sullivan, their biological father. Police have stated there's no evidence of an abduction, despite there being information in the court documents that a tip was received that a woman saw 2 children near to the Martel's home walking towards a gold or tan coloured sedan vehicle on the morning that the children disappeared. The descriptions don't match, and I suspect that given that the police have maintained there is no evidence of an abduction, they've ruled out that tip as being something to do with Jack and Lily's disappearance. But what they have said is they haven't ruled out any suspicious circumstances. So let that sink in. 2 children vanish from their home. No signs of forced entry. No confirmed sightings. And no stranger in the shadows. What do the statistics actually tell us when we apply them to Lilly and Jack's scenario? They tell us that it's extremely unlikely, if not completely ruled out based on the Nova Scotia specific statistics that the kids were abducted by a stranger, or that they were abducted by a parent where there is no custody order in place, or that they were trafficked. Now we know that there is a custody order in place, so that's a potential small potential scenario that could be accurate. Before any searching on day one, the statistics tell us that the most likely explanation for children who disappear is that they ran away or wandered away, but bearing in mind the statistics that say that 78% of all runaways are 14 to 17 years of age. So that in itself makes it unlikely. So that then we're left with they wandered away or they were harmed by somebody in the home. But after an extensive search lasting more than a week, no scent having been picked up by the search dogs, the statistical odds of the children having wandered away is significantly reduced. So the most likely outcome at that time is what's classified in the statistics as unknown or other, which would include homicide or harm by somebody that they know. And particularly when we look at the other statistics which confirm that around 60-something% of all child homicides are related to harm by a loved one, then that becomes statistically the most likely outcome in this particular case. The likelihood of a direct neighbour taking the high risk element of abducting two children at once, and add to that the fact that they are a neighbour's children, the chance of them taking that risk is so minimal that I would entirely discount it. The number of kidnappers who would want both boys and girls is minimal. The number of kidnappers who will take heightened risk of trying to get two children into a vehicle at once is minimal. And the geography of the area, a population so small, in Lansdowne Station it's around 100 people. A quiet logging road, out of logging season when the mill is only open for one day a week, does not lend itself to the idea that at the exact moment that Lilly and Jack were wandering away, a person comes by and that person happens to be one of the very small minority of people in the population who would also consider abducting children. Never mind abducting two children at once. So that makes it statistically extremely unlikely. So my final thoughts about this, in relation to Jack and Lilly specifically, are it's unlikely, but it doesn't mean that it didn't happen. However, it does mean that because it's so unlikely, other things are much more likely. So I'll focus my energy in that direction. Because following the evidence and statistics is important. Children do not vanish without a trace, nor are they generally abducted by aliens. So in this scenario, there has got to be a more plausible explanation. And in my experience dealing with many cases involving harm to children, the most likely outcome is that they were harmed by somebody who they knew and were close to and who likely resides within the family home. That doesn't mean that I'm not going to keep my mind open to all the other possibilities. It simply means that I'm going to look at certain things with more vigour because they're more likely to be true. We've all heard us telling children and heard it ourselves not to talk to strangers. But the reality is, the most dangerous people are those that we love. But what about the child welfare system? Nova Scotia's child welfare system is under significant strain. A 2019 report by the Nova Scotia College of Social Workers described the system as in crisis, citing rising complaints, increased court applications, and burnout among frontline workers. And that's a common theme across countries, not just across one province or one nation. It's a worldwide problem because social workers are underfunded. The social work system is underfunded. And it makes it a very difficult job to do well. This isn't just about one case. It's about a system that's overwhelmed, a culture that's risk averse, and children who fall through the cracks. When we fail to name the danger, we fail to protect the vulnerable. And we must stop romanticising the idea that harm comes from outside. Because the truth is, for many children, and sadly I've seen this with my own eyes on countless occasions, the danger is already inside. It's in the hands that should nurture them. It's in the voices that should comfort them. But that isn't what happens. If you suspect a child is being harmed, even if it's just a gut feeling, report it. Because it's better to be safe than sorry. In Nova Scotia, you can call 1-877-424-1177 during the day or 1-866-922-2434 after hours. And if you're a parent struggling, there are resources available. There is help out there. Harm doesn't have to be the legacy that you bestow on your children. Jack and Lilly are still missing. Their faces are etched into the hearts of Nova Scotians, and people are not just nationally, but worldwide, worried about where Jack and Lilly are. We don't know what happened, but we do know this. The shadows we fear may not be outside the home. They may be sitting at the dinner table. This has been Crime Courtroom Confidential, where we seek justice and provide the truth, unfiltered. I'm Bev, and I'll keep asking the hard questions until justice isn't just a word, but a reality for Jack and Lilly. It just remains for me to say, look after yourselves and look after each other. Don't forget to join me tonight when I go live with Friday's edition, which is Family Friday, where we'll have a look at the RCMP's use of dogs in the search for Jack and Lilly. Because we're talking about dogs, we'll also bring it back to family, and I'll introduce you to the pets that are part of the Crime Courtroom Confidential team. See you next time.